How can you sell your home for top dollar? How can you maximize the price that you're going to get when you sell your home? Well, that's what this video is about. We're going to go through 5 proven strategies that can increase the sales price when it's time to sell your home. First off, you should know that my complete contact information, I'm a real estate agent. I'm based here in Orange County, California. And my full contact information, including my private cell phone number, is in the description of this video. And you can also, if you like, you can pause the video right here and you can scan this QR code, and that will bring my contact information right into your phone so you can save it and have all my details. And if you send me a text to introduce yourself, tell me your name, I'm going to reply to that with some graphics with my digital business card, which looks like this. And I'm also going to send some seller advice, some real estate advice for sellers. So you're going to get that via text from me if you decide to reach out. But again, the topic of this video is how do we sell for top dollar? How do we maximize the sales price? And it really, it applies to any property, right? It doesn't matter if you're in a beautiful mansion already, a beautiful luxury property that costs a lot of money, or maybe you're just getting started and you have a very modest home. Maybe it's your first home. That's fine. Most of us, of course, are in the middle somewhere where we've had a home before. This is a move-up home, but it's not a mansion, right? So that's the majority of people. But there are some basic things that we can do in all levels, right? The mansion, the starter home, and all the stuff in the middle, which are proven strategies, which are very, very effective. It astonishes me how few listing agents really share some of these secrets or some of these strategies with their customers. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So the first off, pricing the property is critically important because the first 14 days it's critical. It's critical for success, the first 14 days. And sometimes, people, if the home sells too quickly, they're thinking, oh my gosh, we sold too quickly. If we would have waited, we could have gotten more. That's almost, you can never know, of course, because you can't split test that. You can't try it one way and then do it again and do it the other way. You're going to pick one or the other. But it's almost never the case. You want the property to sell quickly. And this is what the activity level actually looks like when you're selling a home. So you can see the activity level of a new listing peaks right around 10 days. That's the peak activity level, right? And when you get to 14 days, you're already going on the backside of that curve, right? So you want the property to sell quickly. That's how you're going to get the most for your property. If it's priced properly, it'll sell quickly, and that's where you want to be. So we kind of have a bifurcated market currently, especially here in Southern California, because we've got some properties, a minority, less than half, it's about a quarter actually, that are they're well priced and they're well marketed. We're going to talk about both of those in this video. And they sell really quickly, and that's what you want. But more than half, three quarters of these properties end up sitting on the market because they're not priced correctly and they're not marketed correctly. And you do not want your house to sit on the market. We're going to talk about that too. It's a huge problem. So you want to be in that first group and not in that second group. And so what I want to do is just go over the common scenario. This is how it always plays out. We deal with this as real estate agents. I deal with this constantly. So you want to sell your home. You've made that decision for whatever reason. And so the process begins and you start to meet with real estate agents. And maybe maybe there's someone in your family, a cousin, somebody's wife, someone's husband, someone you've used before, someone you know through work, whatever. And these agents, knowing that you're thinking about selling your home, they're going to do a little bit of research and they're going to do what's called a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis. So they're going to look primarily at 3 different properties and they're going to try and establish what the value is of your home. So they're going to come and meet with you. They're probably going to want to come to your property so that they can see the property that's going to be for sale. That's an important piece. And they're going to have a number. Right. And so let's say the first one comes, just as an example here in SoCal, all the homes are over $1 million anyway. So let's say the first agent comes and says, okay, I can get you $1.1 million. We can sell it for $1.1 million. And then you meet with another agent and that one says, we can get $1.2 million. And then a third one comes along and that person says, we can get $1.3 million. So you're a human being. Like you want to maximize the amount of money you're going to get when selling the house. And so it's tempting to go for that $1.3 million agent because maybe that person was really confident, was convinced we can get $1.3 million. It's rarely the right choice Because what happens is, see, they call it buying the listing. And this literally happens every day. This happens all the time. So I deal with this like almost on a daily basis. So people come in and they give a number which is inflated. It's too high. And what happens is if they actually list the property at that level, it's going to end up going stale. It's not going to move. And then you've got a huge problem on your hands. So if you know, right, let's say we could tell the future and we know that eventually your house is going to sell for 1 million too. Let's just pretend that we can literally tell the future, right? We know it's going to sell for 1 million too. The right thing to do is actually put it on the market for 1,000,001 or maybe 1,000,015, right? 50 grand less, like really 4 or 5% below the expected market price is where you want to be. You want to be below, right? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get excitement, right? We want the property to hit the market and people are like, wow, look at this. We want to create a feeding frenzy, right? We want to get multiple offers, right? That's the whole point. And we want to leverage the first 10 days where everyone's excited, everyone's talking, they want the property, the phone's ringing, right? That's the opportunity is to do things quickly. So if I come to a listing presentation, I'm going to want to come to your home because I need to see the property that we're going to be selling. I'm going to come with two numbers, right? The first one is I'm going to have a market price. In other words, the price that I think your home is probably going to sell for, right? I'm going to have that number for you. And I'll give you the documentation. I'll show you how I came to that number. And by the way, if you talk to other agents, you should ask them to justify their number as well, right? Get the research. Find out what other comps did they look at? How did they do their calculations? You should get that information. It's valuable information. But I'm going to have the market price. And then secondly, I'm going to have the recommended listing price, which is going to be a little bit below, right? And if we can't put it on the market for a little bit below, then I'm probably not going to take that listing because I know how important it is. See, keep in mind, you don't have to accept an offer, right? If an offer doesn't come in that meets your requirements or your hopes and aspirations for that property sale, you don't have to say yes to any of them. That's entirely your choice. So you're actually not risking anything, right? But I know as an agent, because I do this all the time, that if we price it aggressively, we're going to create that excitement. We're going to have all kinds of activity and we're going to create a bidding war, which is going to bid the price up to what you're hoping for and hopefully even higher than what you're hoping for. That's the goal, right? We want to be able to say, because people are going to call me, right? I'm the listing agent. They're going to be calling me. They're going to be saying, okay, where do we need to be? Do you have offers? What's going on? I want to be able to say, we've got multiple offers and they're above asking, right? Bring your highest and best, right? Bring your highest and best. That phrase right there is the entire industry on the sell side. I want to be able to say, bring your highest and best because we're already above asking, right? And that means that we have to price it aggressively when we get started. So I'm going to do a CMA as well, right? I'm going to do that. Everybody does that in the industry. So, and I'm going to have that information for you, but I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to look at the entire inventory that's on the market at that time because we know, right? You know as well, the people who are looking for a home, they're going to see all the properties that are out there, all the properties that are active, that are available for sale. And so we need to know, what does that inventory look like? Right. And so I pull this inventory. Now, look, if you look at this as an Excel spreadsheet, if you look at this and your eyes glaze over, don't worry about it. Right. This is my job. Like, you don't have to worry about this. This is what I do on the back end. But I pull the entire inventory and then I can determine the cost per square foot, right, of the structure, the actual home, the living space. And then I can also calculate the cost per square foot of the lot, right? Because at the end of the day, you're buying land, right? And so that's very important. Like, how big's the lot? So you can get a price per square foot of the lot as well. And then what I do is I add those two together, and that's what this price per square foot for both, right? It's a combined figure. So the number itself doesn't mean that much, but it's a great way for us to compare properties and see how much value are you getting in terms of square footage of the living space, square footage of the lot size together. How much value does that particular property offer? This is going to determine what we think we need to list it at so that it's competitive when people go out into the marketplace and see all the other inventory and they see your listing that I'm representing and say, okay, this one looks, we have to go see this one. This one looks excellent for the price, right? That's what we're trying to get. And we need to see the whole inventory to come to that conclusion. Now, as well, I want to point out the column on the far right, which says DOM, that stands for days on market. And this is critically important as well. Again, you want the property to go quickly. So I've highlighted here all in yellow, all the properties that have been on the market for longer than 40 days. And look at, I mean, some of these are incredible. Like, look at this, 349 days, right? Look, and look further down, 247 days. This is a huge problem, right? This is a huge problem. When a property's been on the market for that long, it becomes toxic, right? Nobody wants to look at it anymore. They all see that number and they're like, they're all saying the same thing. There must be a reason. There must be a reason, right? And look, I just did it myself with you on this video. I just pointed out two properties that have been on the market for over 200 days each, one over 300. And the immediate assumption is that there's a problem with this property, and there probably is. But I'll tell you the biggest problem, it's priced too high. So between the listing agent and the owner of the property, they have an unrealistic expectation of what they're going to get for that property. And so it sits there and becomes stale and it becomes toxic, right? Nobody wants to see it. So this is what people think on the left. They think that the longer it's been on the market, the more money they're going to get. Oh, let's just hang on. Let's hang on for another couple of days. We'll get a higher offer. The truth is that the exact opposite takes place. The longer it's been on the market, the offers start to fall away, right? And you get fewer and fewer, and they become less and less. The value goes down. So you want to do it quick. You want, again, that first 10 days, that first 14 days, we want multiple offers. We want to create that excitement. We want to get that feeding frenzy, and we want to take advantage of the first 10 days to get the property sold. Okay, number two, aggressive marketing. This is probably the most important piece. Now we've got, by the way, 3, 4, and 5 are really fun. We've got a lot of great images. It's a lot more chill, really fun stuff. Actually, you're going to enjoy that part. But the first two is this is the meat and potatoes, and the marketing piece is critically important. And it blows me away how few listing agents really aggressively market their properties. They don't do it, which is just unbelievable to me. So let's talk about it. Well, the number one tool we have is the MLS, right? And even there, it blows me away how many listings I see on the MLS that aren't fully filled out properly, right? They're not providing all the information that they can through the MLS, which is insane. So this is the actual back end of the MLS. So I pay $170 a month to have access to the MLS, and it's actually an extraordinarily powerful piece of software. And all of these different fields that you're looking at here on the screen, this is just one part of it. It keeps going. There's tons of different fields, and these are all searchable fields when you're searching for property. We have to fill out all of them, right? Every single piece of information that we can get about your property to put into the MLS, we have to fill it out as completely as we possibly can. Keep in mind that this is the data that ends up feeding websites like Redfin and Zillow, which everybody is using. I mean, it's incredible the amount of information that home buyers can get. They have what's called an IDX feed, where they get the data. It's Internet Data Exchange is what IDX stands for. And so they get all the information from the MLS. That's what populates Zillow. So if we fill out the MLS properly, then the listing on Zillow is going to be more complete as well. Now, photography on the MLS is also, I mean, it's critical, it's paramount. It's critically important. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then also simple things like people love floor plans, right? As an image, one image of the property should be a floor plan. So if we list your property, we're going to create a floor plan for your property. I have software that I use to do that. So that we can have a floor plan. Again, these are all little details which statistically end up getting more interest in the property. So we have to leverage, priority number one is we have to optimize the MLS. Now, on top of that, we have to actively promote the listing. And there's some great services out there, including Zillow Showcase. Zillow Showcase is an excellent service where I pay for that. And by the way, I don't charge you for it. That's just part of my service package. So I'm gonna do that either way. You're not going to pay for that. But Zillow Showcase actually really provides a significant benefit. They really feature the property. And this is, these are things that are the marketing of Zillow towards agents like me. So that what you're reading here on the video, if you pause and read what's on here, it's not designed for you as a homeowner, but it's designed for me as an agent. But they really do provide a significant package here. I think it's well worth the money that we pay for, and they've got features that they do with showcase properties, which are worth the price that I pay for them. So we're going to do that for sure. Now, if you're curious, the Zillow website, it's a website, right? It's a website. On the stock market, the company Zillow has a market capitalization. What's the company worth? Market capitalization of $18.5 billion. Do you ever wonder how a website, like a company that's built around a website, can have a valuation of $18.5 billion? Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's astonishing. You're not gonna believe how this actually works. It blows me away. So there was a program called the Premier Agent Partner Program with Zillow. And so agents could pay a fee and they would get leads from Zillow. But the program became so popular and so competitive that in the major urban centers around the country, basically any city, like even St. Louis, Missouri, or Seattle, or, those aren't giant cities, but there's certainly still Kansas. I mean, those places all have what's now called the flex program, the flex pricing program. So with the flex pricing program, the agents that try to get that are willing to pay money to get leads from Zillow, they have a program where they end up owing Zillow a percentage of the commissions that they earn. Think about this. This is incredible, right? So everyone thinks real estate agents make too much money to begin with, right? And most real estate agents don't actually do that much for the money they make, which is the frustrating part. But in any case, if you want leads from Zillow, you pay a percentage of the commission you earn to Zillow for that lead. Do you know what you pay them? Think about this for a second. Do you know what you pay them? You pay them 40% of the commission. Think about that. Almost half of the commission that the real estate agent earns gets paid to Zillow for the lead. This is because real estate agents hate marketing so much. They hate marketing so much that they're willing to pay 40% to the website Zillow just to meet you, just to get the lead, your name, your phone number, your email address, right? And they get some branding from Zillow. That's it. And Zillow isn't the only one. Redfin has a program as well, and they take 35%. And there's even another one, which is realtor.com, and they have a flat monthly fee that you pay, and then you pay 30% on top of it. So it's 30% plus the monthly fee. This is insane. It's insane. And I think it's pathetic, frankly, because I would like to take the same money and spend it on advertising, direct advertising, to actually get in front of the eyeballs of people who can buy your property, right? So Facebook ads, I use Facebook ads all the time. In fact, I quite often cover this same content, the content that's in this video. I deliver the same content in webinar format and I promote it on Facebook. This is an example of one of the ads that I've used that I do on Facebook to get people to sign up for the webinar. This is how I meet my customers. So I do Facebook advertising, I do YouTube advertising, and I use those to promote open houses for the listings that I have, right? And the metrics are very straightforward. I'm going to share them with you. You're probably not going to get this information anywhere else. So here's what we want to do. We want to get 1 million impressions of advertising on your property. From those 1 million impressions, we want to get 50,000 clicks. That's the goal. We want to get 50,000 clicks. And from 50,000 clicks, we want to get 100 open house visitors or more. If we do that, if I deliver that for you, and we have the right pricing and we're going to show off your property, and with the next 2 steps, you're going to see what we're going to do. That's the fun part. But if we have it priced right and we can get 100 groups through an open house, we're going to sell that property. and we're going to sell it for the price that you want and maybe even higher. And that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do. So number three, this gets into the fun stuff. So curb appeal photographs. So this is much more visual. You've already got the most important stuff is pricing the property correctly and aggressive marketing. But let's talk about how we present your home to make it look beautiful, right? And appealing. And there's some psychology involved here. So curb appeal is what you see when you first pull up to the house, right? It's an open house, you're driving up to take a look, and it's the first impression you get. And you see a beautiful home. And what happens, there's a little psychological chain reaction that takes place. Because what happens, and people, they actually study this, okay? So when you come up to a home, it looks beautiful, and your mind is thinking, oh my gosh, it looks so great. I hope the inside of the property looks as good as the outside. This is critically important, right? I want the inside to look as nice as the outside. So what does that mean? It means you're now looking for good things, right? And when you look for good things, you find good things because that's what your mind is oriented towards. You're looking for nice things. And so if we have a nice curb appeal, a first impression, which is great, then they're going to come into the home looking for nice things. It totally changes their orientation when they come into the property versus, let's say the home looks bad. It looks grimy or not well kept, or maybe there's garbage or something. It doesn't look nice. Things aren't well maintained. Now they're kind of disappointed already, and now they're looking for bad things to essentially verify that their first impression was negative, and so they want proof that their first impression was accurate. That's what's actually happening psychologically, is that they're verifying their own first impression, validating their own first impression. So if their first impression was good and positive, and they think, oh my gosh, this looks so like, look how cute it is, look how beautiful this front entrance is. If they do that, they're going to go into the house looking for proof that their first impression was accurate, which means they're looking for good things, right? So there's so many little things that we can do. We can add a new front door to your property. It's going to cost you, depends on what you do. There's some front doors which are incredibly expensive, but between the labor and the door and so on, you're looking at probably $1,000 to $4,000, but it makes a huge difference, right? To have a nice, beautiful front door that's brand new, right? You can have some potted plants on either side of the door. That makes a nice difference as well, a nice touch, right? It makes it homey. Look how beautiful this front entrance with a new door and potted plants. Those potted plants are going to cost you anywhere from 50 to 200 bucks each. It depends on what kind of plant you're getting, how tall it is, how big the plant is, and so on. But you can get a couple for 50 bucks each, $100 total, or maybe $100 each. It's going to be $200 total. Those are going to be beautiful plants. It's going to make a big difference, right? For 200 bucks, right? You can get a nice mat, even a nice mat for 50 bucks, 40 bucks on Amazon. You can get a beautiful mat for 40 bucks and put it in front of your door. Little things like that end up making a difference. You can plant flowers, right? You can get a gardener to come in and plant flowers in your front yard. It'll cost you probably somewhere between $500 and $2,500, depending on how much you do, how aggressive you get, right? There's little things. You can trim the bushes, make it look well kept, well maintained, right? You can power wash the driveway or power wash the deck. You're looking at $1,500 to $400, depends on how big it is, how much space it is, right? But getting the power washing done, again, all these little things. This is just like 101 to make your property look nice. And then landscaping. Now look, landscaping costs real money. Like, and I'm not suggesting everyone needs to do landscaping. I'm not saying you need to do any of this. I'm saying you could do these things and it will make a difference, right? It will be probably a profitable investment. You invest X and you get some amount Y, which is greater, right? So let's say you invest $4,000 and you get 10,000 extra in the sales price. So landscaping, I mean, again, you don't have to get into this, but it makes, I mean, it really makes a nice difference. It makes the house look so beautiful. In some cases, they do just such a nice job. So the curb appeal makes a huge difference, and that's what allows us afterwards to get great photographs for the property. And photographs, my gosh. Now, by the way, you don't have to pay for photographs. I pay for that. We're going to get great photographs for your property. That's already baked into the cake. I do that. I've got some great providers when it comes to these things. So don't worry, I've got you covered. But the cost of good photographs, it depends on the property, but you're looking somewhere between 200 and 1,000 bucks I usually pay with my main guy, 400-ish, depending on the property size, 400 or 500 for great photographs, and it is worth every penny. These people are magicians, right? With photography, they make it look so much nicer. And those photographs are on the MLS, they end up on Zillow, they end up on Redfin. That's your salesperson right there. It's the photographs. We have these beautiful photographs of a nice property, right? A nice, beautiful photograph collage. That's exactly what we need, is to make the property look beautiful and vibrant and meanwhile warm and welcoming, right? So number four is similar, right? So now we're getting into the inside of the house, staging, right? We're trying to create connection. So the statistics nationwide, you're probably reading this already on your screen. Nationwide, good staging adds 5 to 10% to sales price. That's astonishing. But I'll tell you, it's not accurate for here in Southern California. You don't get 10% extra. You just don't. Because we're talking about properties that are over $1 million to begin with. So you're saying that it's going to add over 100 grand if it's staged well. It's not true. But it does add probably about 4 or 5%. So let's say 4% to be conservative. It doesn't cost you 4%, it costs you less than that. And I'll tell you how much it costs in just a second. But you'll probably get 4% more. But more importantly, they sell twice as fast. That's the big one, right? We just talked earlier on about getting your home sold within 10, 14 days, right? Within 3 weeks, we want your house in contract, right? That's what we want. We want offers and an accepted offer by the 3 week, by the 20-day mark, hopefully even sooner. But we're shooting for the first 14 days. And if we have it well staged, statistically, they sell twice as fast. So the average days on market currently is about 40 days, which means if we have it well staged, maybe we can sell it for about 20 days, in about 20 days. That makes a big difference, right? Again, it feeds into the first one that we talked about right at the beginning. So staging, we're talking about companies. I've got two great providers, awesome providers. They do an amazing job. And they come in with furniture and with all sorts of details to make the house look, warm and inviting and lived in. And it kind of demonstrates what it could look like. Now, these really big, thick cable knit blankets, this is probably the highest ROI in real estate. Uh, Getting these blankets and then draping them over a couch, right? Putting one on the side of it, maybe the corner of the bed, right? Having these big, thick cable knit blankets are they're invaluable. I mean, and if you go to open houses, you see these things everywhere because everybody knows how effective they are at making it look warm and welcoming, right? Little things like that. We're trying to create an emotional connection with warmth in your property. Now, it makes a difference, right? The way it looks like you're getting a home. Again, you want to demonstrate how the space can be used. Quite often, if the home is vacant, people can't envision what it's going to look like once they live in it, once their furniture is in it. Sometimes they don't realize how big a room is because the furniture isn't there. And so they think, oh my God, it's not going to fit. But meanwhile, if there's furniture there, they see how much space is available. And they start to understand, okay, we're going to be good. Look at this. This looks beautiful. This is what we want. So how much does it cost? Well, so normally staging is priced on a per room basis, right? So like a bedroom has a certain cost, a living room, a kitchen, right? Each room has a different cost, but it's harder to calculate an estimate. I want to give you an estimate on this video so you kind of walk away with an idea of what this is going to cost. So this is a ballpark estimate of what it is going to cost per square foot of your property, right? So let's say you have a 2,000 square foot property. It's going to range from $2 per square foot to $5 a square foot. Now that's a big range. So what does that break down to? Well, it's $5 a square foot about, right? And by the way, that's kind of a generous estimate. It might be a little bit less, but I don't want to I don't want to underestimate it either. So $5 if it's their furniture. So that means you're leaving the property. The property's vacant. There's nothing in the property. So they have to come in, start from scratch, bring all the furniture. Everything is theirs. That's going to cost about $5 per square foot. Meanwhile, if you're still in the property, it's still an owner-occupied property. By the way, 2/3 of properties that sell are still owner-occupied. It's only one third that are vacant, less than half. So most people are still owner occupied. They live in the house when it's on the market. So it's going to be roughly $2 a square foot if you're using your furniture because you're still in the property, right? And so you kind of get an idea of what this might look like. So if you have an 1,800 square foot property, that's going to cost you about, again, this is their furniture, all of their stuff, right? $5 a square foot, that works out to $9,000. 2,400 square feet, you're looking at 12 grand. 3,000, that's a big house. 3,000 square foot, you're talking about $15,000. But it's going to add way more to that than that to the sales price. Now, again, you can't split test. You can't do it both ways. You either pick one way or the other. But I'm going to recommend we do it because it's almost always profitable. And if you have $1 million property, it could add up to $40,000 to the sales price from what you would get if it wasn't properly staged, right? And if it's a $2 million property, 80,000, and of course, even more if it's a $3 million property. So it's really worth it. It's worth it to get this stuff done. Now, you can do a lot of this yourself too. You don't have to hire a company to do it. And a lot of this boils down to things like pillows, right? Pillows, you're talking about the living room, right? Bedrooms. The ballpark estimate, it depends on how nice of the pillows you get and so on. If are they embroidered, right? There's a lot of the size of the pillows. There's a lot of different distinctions here, but again, rule of thumb, you're looking at $100 to $300 per room to get a bunch of nice pillows for that room. By the way, people constantly, like, I get this all the time. So we list a property, we get it all ready, and people are like, holy smokes, my property has never looked so good. My home has never looked so good as it looks right now, and we're selling it to somebody else. This is crazy. So if you do it yourself, you can buy these things. And then once you move, you can take all that stuff into your new home and make your new home more homey, right? These big, thick cable knit throws, right? These things are awesome. You're talking about, some of them are expensive. They're, $50 to $300 for one of these things. But you can buy two or three of these and you'll probably love having them around. They're so beautiful, right? There's all sorts of little things that you can do. You can add a nice cutting board in the kitchen, right? A beautiful wooden cutting board makes a nice difference. And this is almost like a joke in the industry because these wooden chain links, like if you go to open houses, you see these everywhere. Like they're literally in every open house. Like it's so crazy because they look warm and earthy and they're kind of cool looking, right? I found this on Amazon for 40 bucks, $38. Like you can get these things. I have some of them, right? We use them in our listings. Like, of course I have them. You should have them too. Like they're kind of cool, right? And you can add, just like having indoor plants in your property. That's another huge thing. Something green, something that's alive, right? It makes your property look more lived in, more alive. It gives people a vision of what the property can look like. These matching lamps, the matching lamps is another. These are little things that all add up to, they can add 50 grand or 80 grand to your sales price. Like it's worth doing this stuff to buy some of these things, right? You're trying to create that emotional connection with the people who come and see your property. Roll up some towels, right? This makes it look like a resort. Get some towels and roll them up and put them in the bathroom, right? It looks beautiful, right? Get some candles. These things all make your home look more lived in, more beautiful. So basically interior design 101. That's what we're talking about here. It's interior design. And again, you can do this to the new home, the new property. Once you move into your next home, you can do the same thing from day one. You don't have to wait until when you're selling it to make it look gorgeous. You can make it look gorgeous right off the bat with all these little details. So look, you see, this is another picture. See the wooden chain links right there. You see them everywhere you go. You see the blanket here on this couch. Like every open house you go to is going to have this. So we're going to go to the fifth one, the last one in a second. But first, I want to really ask you, who do you know that needs this information? Right? You're watching this video. I'm grateful. I appreciate you watching this video. You've gotten, this far in the video. Believe me, I appreciate your time. But I'm sure you're thinking, oh my gosh, my sister should be watching this, or my cousin or my friend at work is trying to sell their house. Gosh, I should pass this along. Please pass it along. Send this video to the people who you're thinking about. Refer people to me. We do a great job for our clients. We love it. I'm good at what I do. And this is what we, so if you have people who you're listening to all this information, pass it along. Send those people to us. We can help them and we'll love doing it. So number five, and is this self-serving? Of course it's self-serving. Select a strong agent. Look, this video is a form of marketing for me, right? I'm trying to demonstrate to you how we approach our business, right? The care that we put in to make sure we do a good job for our clients. That's what this video is. And of course, selecting a strong agent is a huge part of that, but it's also critically important, right? It's probably a $50,000 to $100,000 decision, honestly, between, who which agent you end up picking, right? You want someone who knows how to negotiate, who knows how to talk to other listing agents. It's a huge part of this business is being able to talk from one agent to another, that negotiation piece, right? Someone who understands the market and understands value so that we know where to price your property so that it can sell quickly, right? And someone who can keep the transaction organized, right? We have a whole transaction coordinator. That's usually a $700 fee. We eat that. We pay for that because we want the transaction to run smoothly. We want everything to go. And look, there's always unforeseen things. There's always unforeseen things. Something always comes up, right? And it's my job to deal with that as we deal with those things, situations all the time. But the bottom line is I'm going to go to great lengths to make this as smooth as possible for you, for the client, right? To try and make it smooth. So do you know, listen to this, 49% of real estate agents have done 0 or 1 transactions in the past 12 months. Half. Half of real estate agents have done 1 or less transactions in the last 12 months. That's insane. You don't want to list your property with an agent that has done 0 or 1 transactions in the last 12 months. You want someone who understands what's out there and is willing to spend money to use programs like Zillow Showcase, right? Someone who's willing to do actual advertising that I pay for. I pay for that out of my earnings to make sure we can sell the property, right? That's part of the service that we provide, right? There's a smart way to do this. And that's what this is all about. So anyway, we've gone through 5 things in this video. Strategic pricing of your property, aggressive marketing, those 2 are absolutely key. Then the fun ones are the curb appeal, photos, staging is fun. And the last one is selecting the right agent. And I hope that you want to select me. I hope that you will call me, use the contact information that's in the description of this video. My phone number is there. It's my direct cell phone number. So if you text me, if I'm sleeping or if I'm at an event, like it might take me an hour or 2 to get back to you, but I will reply to the texts that I get. I would love to meet you. I would love to hear what it is you're trying to do. And I would love to help. I would love to do it with you. This is what I do for a living. I love it. And I'd love to do it with you. So thanks so much for watching to the end of this video. I'm grateful. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, or you can just text me and I'll do my best to answer your questions quickly. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.